And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder. We are on week 11. Yes, sir.
Season is unfortunately coming to a close, but there's lots of football left.
Yes, and everything's starting to really get exciting. USC knocked off Colorado 55-17 and a dominant performance.
Friday night, I watched most of this game. First half was a little kind of touch and go for USC, and then they finally kind of got the ball rolling, throwing the football, and unfortunately Travis Dye went down with what looks to be a pretty gruesome leg injury. Gets carted off the field, and the whole team comes out on the field, and crowds around him, and he's a transfer from Oregon. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So had to kind of read online, the impact he's made. I don't follow USC behind the scenes too closely, but he's made a huge impact on the team. New guy and veteran leader, and he's going to be missed. But they were able to, really put an ass beating on Colorado for the most part. Didn't really affect them too much. We'll see if they kind of keep it going forward, but it could be a huge blow for them.
Yeah. Moving right along, last night, Georgia knocked off Mississippi State 45-19. Georgia had this game in hand for the most part, really turned it on late in the second half. Yeah,
first half was a little sloppy. Some missed opportunities from Georgia that made them kick a field goal instead of getting a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Really, really bad clock management by Kirby at the end of the half. Guys kind of run the football, go into halftime with a, I think, 10-3 lead or 10-6 lead or whatever it was, and they punt, and the dude returns it for a touchdown. They ended up missing a 2-point conversion, I think. But kind of got a little close to it. But like you said, second half, game was really never in doubt. Mississippi State made some plays, but, they one of those teams like Ole Miss, like I said, go for it on fourth down. They missed a few of those opportunities. Georgia capitalized. Yeah. Really big day throwing the football for Bennett. He had a couple of picks, but one was like a ridiculous, amazing play by the defensive lineman. I don't think is too much Bennett's fault. No. The other one, he got hit while he was throwing, but he threw the ball well.
Ladd McConkey, big game.
McConkey had a huge game, rushing and receiving. Mm-hmm. But Georgia kind of, I don't want to say lackluster performance. It was freezing cold over there yesterday. I'm not using that as an excuse, but I think they could have played a little bit cleaner, but they went in, got a double-digit victory on the road in, I guess, Mississippi State's a hostile environment. I didn't really hear that before, ever until yesterday. Now, I will say it's funny. I was watching some of the highlights this morning. Darnell Washington scored a touchdown, and running off the field, they're doing this to the crowd. I thought it was kind of funny.
Moving right along, Ohio State knocked off Indiana 56-14. Did you see any of this?
I watched this game. Another freezing cold game. It snowed for a little bit in this game, and C.J. Stroud didn't look affected at all by the weather. I mean, he threw the ball well. They're missing TreVeyon Henderson when he's got a foot injury that's kind of like a chronic thing. He's been battling all season. Well, the other dude they got, who had a huge first half, it was like 147 yards and touchdown in the first half, he went down with a leg injury. Don't know what kind of leg injury, but he was helped off the field, almost carried off the field, if you will, and then carted off. And he gave the whole Ohio deal to show the crowd he was okay, but who knows how long he's going to be out.
Yeah.
It's not often you're carted off the field for something you're not going to be missing time.
Generally, you miss the season when you get carted off the field.
But I mean, it didn't really matter. Ohio State took care of business, dominant fashion in the snow. Mm-hmm. Looked like a fun kind of game to be playing on that snow games.
Yeah. Moving right along, Michigan knocked off Nebraska 34-3.
Michigan, they run the football with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. They play really good defense, and it's nothing really fun to watch. When you watch Michigan, I watched most of this game yesterday as well. And it's kind of one of those deals where, the game starts, Michigan scores a touchdown, and then you kind of maybe quit paying attention to it because it's a little boring. Mm-hmm. And then you look back and you're like, damn, we're up 27-0. Stuff like that. It's one of those type of situations. Michigan's got a really good football team.
Yeah, and they're 10-0. TCU knocked off Texas 17-10. This is where game day was at yesterday. It was like a slow game. I didn't see any of this one.
It was a defensive effort. Both teams got after the quarterback fairly well. TCU was able to score a touchdown in the third quarter. And then another one in the fourth to kind of put this one away. Texas touchdown came late in the game on a scoop and score. It was already 17-3, I believe. really kind of in hand, boring game. Not the kind of game you'd expect from the Big 12.
No.
You'd expect it to be like 47 to 40 kind of deal. But,
Defensive struggle.
yeah, defensive efforts. Defensive teams played well. TCU needed this. Obviously, they got to finish undefeated, win the conference, get the playoffs. They're sitting at number 4. Obviously, they're going to move up because Michigan, Ohio State at 2 and 3. They play each other into the year. TCU controls its own destiny. So
We'll see.
I'm hoping they get in. It'd be cool to see them in. The Big 12 has been in a bunch of times, but it's always been Oklahoma. It'd be cool to see somebody different for a change. Oklahoma State could have got in last year, decided to lose the game in the last play of the game against Baylor in the conference championship game last year. Let's see if TCU can buck the trend and get in.
That's right. Tennessee knocked off Missouri 66-24. It was actually kind of a game early, and then Tennessee turned it on in the second half, of course.
Missouri moved the football on them fairly well. I basically quit watching this at halftime because I kind of saw how it was going. Tennessee was just doing what Tennessee does to weaker opponents, completely out-scheming and out-throwing them. I don't want to say out-athleting because Tennessee's got a good team, but they don't have some of the... They're not like an elite athletic team.
Right.
They scheme dudes open. Josh Heupel's awesome at what he does. They had a play where Hyatt was lined up in the backfield, like just behind the tight end, or the tackle, H-back position, if you will. And he runs a wheel route and nobody's covering him. He gets like a 75-yard touchdown pass. I mean, it was an amazing thing to watch. But I was seeing on Twitter, they scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. They ran it up.
Yeah.
And people were bitching and moaning about them running it up. I'm like, you're Tennessee. You're at number 5. You're not going to even get to your conference championship game.
You have to run it up.
Exactly. You've got to get style points to get in.
Yeah.
I personally feel I don't care what they do the rest of the way and who loses. You don't make your conference title game, you don't deserve to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like the de facto semifinal playoffs anyway, is a conference championship game. But like you said, they need the style points to show the committee, hey, we slipped up, but we're still dominant against Missouri.
Another top-ranked team that lost. Oregon was defeated by Washington 37-34. Oregon needed this win, and they could not get it done.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed. I was hoping they'd win and at least make it to the conference title game with one loss. And maybe you have 2 Pac-12 teams with 1 loss. The winner goes to the playoffs. Well, Oregon screwed the pooch on this pretty bad. Washington's a good team. Had a really good first half of the year. Some injuries. They lost a couple in a row. Went unranked. Now they're 25th. They'll be obviously ranked higher. It was a high-scoring game. Both teams had a lot of explosive plays for touchdowns. Nix went out with an injury. And instead of punting the football and going to OT, Dan Lanning decides to go for it, and the running back slips and falls down behind the line of scrimmage, giving Washington the football, a couple minutes left. They go down and kick a game-winning field goal over. Bad call by Dan Lanning, but...
Had it worked?
Yeah, had it worked. He's a genius who trusts his team.
Right.
But it didn't work, and I feel probably wasn't the time to call that.
No.
But, hey, whatever.
Games in the balance.
Yeah, but we really needed Oregon to win there, and they couldn't pull it out. Right. So,
yeah, moving right along. LSU knocks off Arkansas 13-10. A defensive struggle. It was cold, man. It looked cold on TV.
Sun was shining brightly, but every time you could see the steam coming out of the players' mouths. Snooze fest of a game. I watched this game. LSU can't block. Poor quarterback spent the whole game on his back. Had to do everything himself, basically. Arkansas's third-string quarterback's probably better than their first 2. At least he can throw the football accurately. And LSU has a freak of nature at linebacker, number 40, Perkins. Committed to A&M and decommitted, went to LSU. Dude is like a Roquan Smith, Nakobe Dean type guy, all rolled into one. Ridiculously fast. That dude's going to play 2 more years and be a first-round pick.
Awesome.
That's basically the only thing that come out of this game was him.
Somebody made some money yesterday.
Yeah.
Moving right along. Alabama knocked off Ole Miss 30-24. Ole Miss just couldn't quite get it done. Yeah.
Alabama didn't look good at all in the first half of this game. They made some plays, but they were off Ole Miss mistakes. Ole Miss was up pretty big and was about to kind of go up even bigger when they had a fumble. Alabama takes over, gets a touchdown, makes it a little bit closer going into half. It was an ugly game. But like you said, Ole Miss just can't seem to get over that hump. And the hump not being Alabama, it's almost like they can't get out of their own way. They've got the ability to win the game. They've done this a couple of times this season. Well, they'll either get up and lose it, or they'll be right there with the other team, and they just have a stupid issue that they just can't overcome, and they lose the game. Case in point, going for the game tying or the game what would have been the game winning touchdown extra point. Dude takes a sack. I'm like, third down, you cannot take the sack. Just throw the damn football away. They're on like the 10-yard line. Dude takes a sack, and it's like 4th and 20, game over. That Judkins dude can run the football, though. I watched this game, and like I said, Alabama I know they've got a couple losses, but I still believe in Alabama. Like, it's the mystique of Alabama. It's Alabama.
Still there.
With Nick Saban, their elite team. Man, they just don't look right. And you can tell, like, on both sides of the ball, they're missing assignments. The blocking's out there. If it wasn't for Bryce Young running around, he'd probably have half the touchdown pass he does this year.
Yeah. Moving right along, Clemson knocked off Louisville 31-17.
Impressive showing by Clemson. And, don't look now, but they're ranked number 10. They'll probably move up in the polls a little bit. And
they were playing UNC.
They're undefeated.
Yep.
They're undefeated in conference play. They got one loss to Notre Dame. They're heading into the conference championship game in a few weeks against UNC, who I haven't talked about this year, and is going to the conference championship game. So I'm just going to not talk about some teams next year in hopes that they make their conference title game. So they could be knocking on the door.
Yeah.
You beat a quality opponent in that conference title game, one-loss conference championship with beating a ranked team. You never know.
Yeah. And I just have a feeling that they want to get, a team from a bunch of different conferences. They don't want to have two teams from the same conference in the playoff discussion. But
I think they prefer not to, but despite what a lot of people think that they want SEC teams in there, I think they prefer not to do that.
They want to have people from different conferences. Arizona knocked off UCLA 34-28. Another team poised and still alive in the discussion gets knocked off.
And now they're out. They're out of contention in the Pac-12, but they do play USC next week, and that'll be a tough game for both teams.
Right.
UCLA will still be ranked. I'll be a lot lower, but that'll look good on the resume for USC if they can win.
If they can knock it off.
Beat a ranked team.
That's right. Moving right along. Utah took down your most hated team, Stanford, 42-7.
Way to go, Utes!
That's right. Dominating.
And they're 6-1 in the Pac-12, so they're right there in the mix as well, and they've got the tiebreaker over USC.
Which is just crazy. All this.
I think USC is going to get left out of this.
Yeah, the whole conference is just, they're basically a battle of attrition. They're all killing each other. Hurting each other's chances of advancing. Penn State knocked off Maryland 30-0. Yeah. And North Carolina survived at Wake Forest. 36-34.
We talked about this last week, or on Wednesday, rather. Wake Forest is that weird enigma where they have a couple of awesome games and a couple of no-shows. North Carolina, undefeated in the conference, 9-1 on the year, go into that conference title game in a couple weeks against Clemson. They're ranked so low.
Yeah.
But,
they're going to get a boost.
One-loss conference champion, man.
If they're one loss 2 weeks from now, they're going to be in the top 10 playing Clemson, which if everything stands pat, they'll be in the top 10 as well. And they'll try to put the winner in the playoffs. I think that's what things are going, the way things are shaking out. NC State loses to Boston College 20-21. Yeah. Let's see. USC, UCF knocks off Tulane 38-31.
That was a good game. I watched a good bit of that one. That was a fun game to watch.
In New Orleans.
I don't know what the hell happened to Baylor. Kansas State whooped that ass. Baylor used to be good. They won the conference last year.
Yeah.
Notre Dame survives against Navy.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got. We got Purdue knocks off Illinois. Well, that just kind of
I was bummed. We were pulling for Illinois because my brother-in-law Jerry is a big Illinois fan, and we've kind of adopted Illinois as like our second team this season. They've been fun to watch. I watched all of this game, just hoping Illinois could pull it out, and they couldn't stop Purdue. Just really couldn't stop them at all. You kept thinking, like, Purdue's quarterback's going to throw an interception at some point, and he just didn't do it. That knocks him out of contention. We were going to go to the Big Ten championship game if Illinois made it. And that was pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. We were going to do that. That would have been really cool to be at Indy to see that game. Illinois can't get it done, so we're going to be sitting at home watching games on TV most likely.
Pretty much it. Florida State knocked off Syracuse 38-3. And what? No, Florida State's actually going to try to have a decent season.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Good for them.
Yeah. And Kentucky with their first SEC win in years.
No, Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
First SEC win. I think what 2+ years.
Yes. 24-21.
And Kentucky scored like 3 minutes left to go in the game, and you figured it was over. You got to give Vandy credit. They marched down the field and put that sucker in the end zone and won in dramatic fashion. And it was a huge recruiting weekend in Kentucky. They had like all the guys that they were trying to get. Big home game, and they shit the bed against Vanderbilt. That's a huge program. Could be a program-defining loss.
Yeah. Anything else? Miami knocked off Georgia Tech. Wow. Let's see. Florida took down South
Auburn beat Texas A&M.
Yes.
And that just was so ugly of a game. I know A&M was having a bad season, but you cannot lose to the dumpster fire that is Auburn football. And they did. I mean, I haven't seen a quarterback as bad as Robbie Ashford in a long time. Great athlete, can't throw the football for shit. And A&M lost to that team. And I know they didn't have A-Chain and a bunch of other guys weren't playing. That Muhammad guy was suspended, apparently suspended, in a uniform on the sideline, not playing. So obviously Jimbo's trying to send a message. Jimbo needs to stop sending these messages because his team just keeps keeping waxed. He'll be coaching there next year, I'm sure. But man, that number 1 recruiting class, half of them going to hit the portal.
Well, we'll see what happens.
You hate to see it.
Yeah. He needs to get him an offensive coordinator.
He does.
Quit calling the plays. Moving right along, next week's slate of games. They're starting up Tuesday. You got Bowling Green and Toledo going at 7 o'clock, and Ohio at Ball State, 7 o'clock as well. Yeah, I'm not really interested in either one of these games. Damn. Kent State's, let's see, Eastern Michigan's at Kent State, 6 o'clock Wednesday night. Let's see, what else? We got SMU Thursday night, taking on Tulane, 17th ranked team in the country, at 7:30. You can get that ticket for $10. I mean, if we're ever in, New Orleans.
That's the key. You got to be in some of these places to get that deal.
Yeah,
I'm not driving to New Orleans for that game.
No, but that'd be kind of cool. So, what are we going to do? Bourbon Street, then head over to the game. South Florida at Tulsa at 9 o'clock Friday night. Ooh, these are some late games.
I'll probably watch that game.
Yeah. Let's see what we got. Navy, UCF at 11 o'clock Saturday morning.
Illinois is going to the big house, take on Michigan at noon. Illinois has already got a few losses. They'll still, by Illinois standards, they're going to have a nice season. They're probably going to go 8-4, something like that. Go to a decent bowl game, like I don't know,
Florida
Big Ten. Nah, I doubt it.
Yeah.
Big Ten tie-in, maybe like Music City Bowl, something like that. I don't think they're going to go to either one of the two Florida games. I don't think that'll probably end up being like Penn State, and whoever from the West might lose that game, like a Minnesota or Purdue or Iowa. Probably go to like Outback or something and get smoked by an SEC team.
Par for the course.
And then somebody's going to have to play Alabama in that Capital One and get smoked.
TCU's got Baylor at noon. That could be an interesting matchup. Maybe Baylor can, mount up a defense.
You never know with the Big 12. As of now, I don't see TCU losing that game.
Right. Austin Peay at Alabama. Oh, you can get an Alabama game for $9. How about that? That's the first time in a long time you probably get an Alabama game for $9. Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns are going to Florida State. That's another nooner. Let's see what else we got. UMass, maybe they can beat Texas A&M.
If it was a hockey, maybe.
Florida's got Vandy. Maybe Vandy can take 2 weeks in a row and knock them out.
Hey, UConn just got bowl eligible yesterday. They're taking on Army. Good for them. Good for UConn. Huge turnaround for Jim Moore there at UConn.
Virginia Tech's got Liberty. I mean, Liberty's having another pretty good season.
I think didn't they lose yesterday?
Yeah,
I thought they lost yesterday.
That's possible. Let's see, Wisconsin, Nebraska. That's a nooner. Let's see what else we got here. Kansas State, West Virginia, 2 o'clock.
West Virginia beat Oklahoma yesterday. I did not watch this game, but JT Daniels either got hurt or got benched. I don't know which one happened, but he left the game. I think it was second quarter or something like that. I kind of want to figure that out because I have a hard time believing he'd get benched. But you never know. But he didn't play. The other quarterback that came in threw the majority of the passes. You got Georgia at Kentucky.
3:30.
3:30. Kentucky's ranked number 24. I hesitate to say that ranking will last after getting beat by Vandy. You never know, though.
Yeah.
Ohio State at Maryland. Ohio State just keep chugging along.
Yeah.
Probably going to have to rely on somebody else running the football and kind of see how that goes over the next couple games and get them up to Michigan.
Yeah.
And maybe Henderson will be healthy.
Yeah. We'll see. Clemson's got Miami at 3:30. I'm assuming Clemson's going to take care of business there. Penn State at Rutgers, another 3:30 game. NC State, Louisville, 3:30. Texas, I don't think they're going to be 18 anymore. Is going to be taking on Kansas in Kansas. So that's Kansas sort of season out at 4-0. I mean, they may
decent.
They may
Having by Kansas standards, they're having a good year.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got.
Not a whole lot of noteworthy games. What we got going on at nighttime?
Let's see what we got. We got Tech, North Carolina.
North Carolina should win that game easily.
Ole Miss, Arkansas, 7:30.
That'd be a decent game. I mean, big letdown for both teams yesterday.
Yeah, here's your big matchup of the weekend: USC.
Yeah, it's
UCLA.
that 8 o'clock game right there. It's USC, UCLA. I feel that USC's probably on the outside looking in because they've lost to Utah. But Utah's playing Oregon. So right there, that game, 10:30 at night, Utah at Oregon. That's going to decide if Utah wins, they're going. Oregon wins, it'll be Oregon versus USC, provided USC beats UCLA.
Yes.
So the Pac-12
Are having their
should
big
be
game.
decided this Saturday,
Right.
and arguably, I'm not going to say arguably, definitely these are the two best games of the day.
And then you got Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. Bedlam.
But I mean, it's
This is the first year it hasn't meant anything.
yeah, it's just nostalgia reasons I'll tune in.
Yeah. Well, that's
But
real.
I'll be watching Pac-12 pretty much all next Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, that's just going to be what it's going to be.
Get the food grilling, get the meat smoking all day because you really don't have anything until 7:30.
And it's that off week in between your
Yeah,
big,
this is the
rivalry
week,
game.
and this is the week too that a lot of the other fans of other conferences have been complaining about. This is the week the SEC, not all of them, but a handful of teams like LSU, Alabama, they all play their cupcakes. That second to last week of the season, Alabama gets to play a cupcake before the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Some of the teams, Georgia, Auburn, to name just a couple, decided to play big matchups against Power 5 teams. So obviously no cupcakes for those.
Well, Auburn's got Western Kentucky.
Yeah, but I mean they played Penn State. What was what I'm trying to say.
Right.
But Western Kentucky's a hell of a lot better than freaking, UAB and whatever whoever Alabama's playing for $9. Austin P.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a great slate of games this Saturday. But I think last week and this week were separation Saturdays, and we're gonna find out everything we want to know about the Pac-12 next week. And Tennessee's going to be watching. Tennessee fans will be watching those games at night because they need
Everything
some teams to lose, certain teams to lose, the right teams to lose in order for them to get in.
Yeah. You want to talk about the playoffs or kind of where we're at?
Yeah, I mean, we're still standing pat. Really, it's Georgia at 1. You could make an argument to flip Georgia in Ohio State. Ohio State 1, Georgia 2. Michigan's firmly entrenched at 3. TCU's at 4. Tennessee's at 5 looking in. The committee, I feel, screwed up when they did the rankings last week by putting Tennessee at number 1, and rightfully so. They should have put them at 1. They deserve to be at 1 due to the fact that they beat, 5 ranked teams.
Right.
But when they lost to Georgia, they should have put them at 6 because there was other teams below them that are going to play for the conference championship in their conference, most likely, and could, easier time to jump them. They didn't give themselves an out. So if any of these teams in the top 4 lose, and the right teams behind them don't win their conference title games, they've got to put Tennessee in. I think that's a freaking abomination. If you can't make your conference title game, you shouldn't be in the playoffs. I know it's happened before. I think it's happened once. It might have happened with Ohio State. I don't really recall. I know there was some, criticism about Ohio State getting in one year, and then they got smoked by Clemson. But I don't know whether or not they didn't make their conference title game. Yeah. But I know Alabama didn't make their conference title game in 2017. Auburn did.
Right.
And Alabama ended up winning the national title. They beat Clemson in the Sugar Bowl, then beat Georgia in Atlanta to win the national championship. But I will say this. Tennessee fans think that they deserve to be in there, right? And they say, well, other one-loss teams have made the playoffs. Lost and had a rematch. That's true. Georgia was ranked number 1. And that very first week got spanked at Auburn. But they got a mulligan. They were still Eastern Conference champions, went to the SEC championship game against that same Auburn team, beat the doors off them, and went to the playoffs. Stuff like that's happened before, but that team has always been able to make the conference championship game. That's the whole caveat of this. And they're not even going to get there. You can lose a game.
That very same year, though, Alabama didn't play in the conference title game and got into the game.
Yes, and that's the one that I know for a fact, one example. But all these other examples of one-loss teams getting in the playoffs, yeah, but they've won their conference championship game.
But there was also another, there was undefeated Ohio State, there was undefeated Clemson, and there was nobody else. And maybe everybody else was a 2-loss team.
Yeah,
as well. So that's how
the committee may be forced to put Tennessee in. Yeah. If USC... in Oregon, can't get right. I mean, Oregon's done. 2 losses, they're done. Utah's done. 2 losses, they're done. The key here is USC and TCU, in my opinion. USC wins out and wins that conference title game. They will have wins 3 straight weeks over ranked opponents going into the playoffs. That will give them enough push, in my opinion, to overtake Tennessee.
Yeah. And I'm hearing stuff about LSU. I'm like, I don't see a scenario where LSU gets
They're a 2-loss team. I don't see them.
I don't
see a 2-loss team getting in the playoffs.
I don't either. I think this Clemson North Carolina game is going to be interesting, assuming both these teams remain, 1-loss teams get into that conference title game. I think the winner of that game sneaks into that 4 spot.
Yep, Clemson sitting there with 1 loss on the season and a conference championship to go against a ranked opponent. Yeah. Providing USC has a shit to bed between now and then,
right?
That could give them ammo to jump up, especially if LSU loses. Maybe USC loses, Clemson could jump up and get in the playoffs. They're not out of it yet.
No, and this USC Utah, that's going to sort itself out in the next 2 weeks, and then the winner. Assuming one of those teams is a 1-loss team, they're in the dance. And this Ohio State Michigan game, however that plays out,
they're a very, very close game. Let's say Ohio State loses. It wouldn't shock me to have them only drop to 4.
Yeah.
Michigan loses, they're out. They're at 3. They're out. They're dropping 2 spots.
Right.
Ohio State could drop 2 spots and go to 4 and still get in. You could have 2 Big Ten teams.
Yep. I could see so many different scenarios here. Nobody's safe. Win your games.
Exactly. Win your games. That's all that matters.
Well, I guess this concludes this week's episode. Anything you want to add?
No. It's kind of sad the season's coming to a close, but I am excited because I love bowl season. We got a big bowl season this year. I'm ready to go.
Yep, absolutely. Well, you guys have a good day, and we'll do it again.
Have a good one.